Shabbat Shalom. I'm Jim Kaplan. I'm pleased.
Wait.
Do it together?
We got to try that
Shalom.
again. It was like a wave.
Shalom.
Okay. I'm still Jim Kaplan, and I'm pleased to lead worship tonight as Shaliach Tzibur, an emissary of our congregation. I'm joined by Leslie Zucker, our music director, by Susie Adams on piano, by Warren Sickle, our wind section, and by Howard Pittler, our rhythm section, and by our technical team. Thank you to the BOW Committee for bringing us beyond our walls. We are looking for more digital docents and volunteers to learn how to run our online worship streaming. So if this sounds like a mitzvah to you, please contact the office and they will give you some more information. For those of us here tonight, the prayer pages I call are the page numbers in blue in the brackets. For those online, the page numbers are at the bottom of each page. And, respecting our atmosphere of worship, please silence your electronic devices.
I've lost my phone, so that won't be a problem.
Before we light the Shabbat candles, we read together from the top of page 121. Top of 121. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
David?
Perhaps the storm took out our slides.
Oh. Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, folks, thank you. No.
I will mention, since some of you are not often here, we do pray everything together and sing everything together, so please do join in, and it will help that you have cues up there. The blessing for the candle lighting is on page 120.
I can hear you laughing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat.
Amen. We read together from page 124. We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into this sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. On page 130, we join in singing the first two lines of Psalm 95, which begins, "Come, let us sing joyously to Adonai."
if I say something else about our
Please.
prayer books real quick?
Please.
So it's been a while since we've talked about our prayer books, and I like to do that every once in a while. If you're not familiar with it, each page that has Hebrew in it has the Hebrew, and then it has the transliteration if you want to be able to say it, but maybe your Hebrew reading isn't quite as fast as we're going, as that is often the case for me. And then it also has the English translation. If you want to let the music wash over you and read the English translation, you have so many options. We invite you to be here in the way that really works for you to get the Shabbatness of Shabbat. Okay, that's all.
Next, we will greet Shabbat on page 138 with Lachado D, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. Shabbat bechuven ilcha ki mikor habracha merosh bikedem nesuha sof maaseh b'machshava tehila. Itorri, ki vayorech, kumi ori, shir daveri, kevod Adonai, alayich nigla.
עטרת בלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני הבשגלה, בואו לי חלה, בואו לי חלה.
Page 145 at the bottom. Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time. Even at unlikely times and through unlikely places, there is no place on earth without the presence. Day turns to night.
Adonai, Amari Varavim.
We continue on page 151 in the lower portion. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us, and the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works, and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema
Shalom. And when you rise up, and you shall find them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be a symbol between your eyes, and you shall write them on the doorposts of your house, and upon your gates, and upon your gates, that you may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God. Page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Mi Chamocha, page 158.
Everybody knows these words?
Page 160. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, haborei sukkah shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai, haborei sukkah shalom. Shalom et yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim et haaretz uvayom hashmi'i Shabbat Shabbat vayinafar Shabbat Shabbat
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'konei hakol V'zocher hasei avot v'imahot V'mevii gula livnei bneihem L'ma'an shemo be'ahava Melech ozer u'moshia u'magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah 168 Atah gibor le'olam Adonai Mechaye metim atah rab l'hoshiach Marit hatal Mechalkel chaim bechesed Mechaye metim berachamim rabim Somek noflim verofech olim Umatir asurim Umekayem emunato Lishenei afar Micha mocha bal gevurot Umido melach Melech memit umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua B'neman atal hachayot metim Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh hametim 170 Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh U'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalu chasela Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. From the middle of page 171. Where might I go to find you, exalted hidden one? Yet where would I not go to find you, ever-present, eternal one? My heart cries out to you, please draw near to me. The moment I reach out for you, I find you reaching in for me. Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. Page 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day.
May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Page 177. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha v'lecha na'eh lehodot.
Ki
לעולם, וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה, בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים We continue reading silently to page 180, adding the prayers that are in our hearts. When you've completed your prayers, please be seated.
עושה שלום במרומיו,
הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה Shalom Aleinu, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Shalom b'romav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. The Mishaberach prayer asks for healing. In your handout, you'll find a list of some who need our prayers of healing, be it emotional, spiritual, or physical. The list was also in the e-news you received this week, linked in the comments section online. If you have additional names to add, please type them in the comments section now so we may include them in our prayers. For those here with us, we offer an opportunity to identify others who may need our prayers.
Elizabeth Adams. everyone cleaning up from the storms.
Yeah. We offer a prayer for those with addiction and mental health struggles. May the one who blessed our ancestors bring blessings of strength, compassion, and healing to those of us who struggle with the oppression of addiction, emotional distress, and mental suffering. Surround them with loving kindness, grace, and companionship, and bring them peace. Bless those in need of healing with refuah Shema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. It's now time for our Simcha moment. Please share a special Simcha, a joy from this past week, online by typing your Simcha in the comments section, be it a birthday, an anniversary, or other good news. And if you're here in person, we invite you to come up to the Simcha mic, one person or family at a time. Tell us your name and your Simcha. I am asked to remind you to refrain from touching the microphone. It's very sensitive. I will wish a Yom Haledet Sameach, a happy birthday to my sister tomorrow. 80 years old.
Wow.
I know, I'm so much younger.
Lewandowski, and today's my birthday, so I survived another year.
Yeah.
And thank all the good people of Beth Torah that has helped me in getting here.
Shabbat Shalom. My name is Peter Pizer, and I had a wonderful victory over bureaucracy. So my youngest child was born, and there was a mistake in the birth certificate, although we did not know it at the time. So we've been in negotiation with the Secretary of State of the state of Nevada, which is very different politically from Kansas and Missouri.
That's a good thing.
And I'm very fortunate for that being the case. So this week we received in the mail the certified official state legitimate change of gender on the birth certificate. So that's my blessing.
Mazel tov. When I lead worship, I try to find a story that underscores something related to that Shabbat. This Shabbat, we welcome the upcoming new month, that is the new moon, that will mark the beginning of the month of Av. We'll return to welcoming the new month in a few minutes, but first a story in honor of your Simchas. A grandfather, appropriately named Saba, Hebrew for grandfather, and his grandchild were taking a walk. It was night. The night was cool and crisp. There was barely any breeze. They came across a bridge that crossed over a pond, and they stopped in the middle of the bridge to admire the stillness of the pond. After a few minutes of quiet, the grandchild asked, "Saba, what is that down there?" The grandfather answered, "That's the new moon." The grandchild shook their head in disbelief. "Are you sure?" asked the grandchild. "Yes," said the grandfather. "See how full it is? See how brightly it shines?" Okay, said the grandchild, looking down into the pond. "I understand it's the new moon, but then how did we get way up here?" The sages tell us that we can never see God. What we see as our reality is a reflection of God in the form of the people and the miracles of nature that surround us. Thank you to those of you who shared your joys with us tonight. You've raised the happiness of all members of our CBT community. In honor of your events, we offer the following prayer. Divine source of blessing, we thank you for everything that enriches our lives. We turn to you now with gratitude as we join in the happiness of those who mark the varied simchas and blessings that they have shared. Adonai be with them now and always. May they be blessed with their strength to overcome sickness and sorrow and enjoy much health and happiness now and always. As we honor each one of you for the gifts that you bring to our sacred community, we join together in song as we mark this sacred occasion. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu b'zman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu b'zman hazeh. As I promised, we continue with the blessing for the new month on page 379.
And on the slide. I did it. I promised you I would.
And on the slide,
and
yes.
I did.
And as you promised, yes. Well, we're going to talk about promises later, too. This is great. In the top of page 379, Yehu ratzon milfanecha, Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu. Our God and God of our ancestors, may the new month bring us goodness and blessing. May we have long life, peace, prosperity, a life exalted by love of Torah and reverence for the divine, a life in which the longings of our hearts are fulfilled for good. Rosh Chodesh Av yiyeh b'yom shlishi. The new month of Av will begin on Tuesday.
Yeah, I didn't have the whole thing on the slide.
Close enough. Parsha Matot begins with a passage about vows and oaths, how they are binding and how they can be annulled. Yes? Oh, that's cool. Thank you. Still, how they are binding and how they can be annulled. The vocabulary of this passage was later adapted for use on Kol Nidre, which, by the way, is coming up in just a couple of months. I know. On that evening, we review vows and promises we've made and make more vows, some of which take another swing at our previous vows that we may have failed. A section on vows at this spot in the Torah as we complete the book of Numbers, upon initial consideration, is an odd spot. Last week, we ended by describing the final stages of the Israelite journey to the Promised Land. 60,000 people are on one shore of the Jordan, looking across at the land of their future. The command has been given to divide the land by a lottery process between the tribes. God tells Moses, it's time to prepare for death and choose a successor. Moses chooses Joshua. Then we abruptly change to a discussion of the sacrifice holidays throughout the year and what sacrifice goes with each oath. Then, with each holiday. Then Matot begins, and we learn how we are to approach vows and oaths. The insightful Torah reader is jarred by the multiple disjointed subjects that seem unconnected. But rabbinic sages hate it when Torah segues don't seem to make any sense, so they study and they debate until they can work logic into the juxtaposed sections. For example, One of the last lines of the preceding parsha from last week, Pinchas, translates as, "These shall you offer to Adonai on your festivals, in addition, your vows and your free will offerings." So, Torah makes a connection, essentially. By the way, as long as Moses mentioned them, let's talk more deeply about vows and oaths. That has been one rabbinic explanation, although it seems a bit like explaining the positioning of this section as if it were coincidental, which no self-respecting rabbinic sage would ever accept. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, however, sees a more meaningful reason that we discuss vows and oaths at this moment that the Israelites stand poised to build their community in the Promised Land. The issue that the Torah addresses is a philosophical dilemma that makes building a new nation much more complex. The rules regarding vows and oaths raise the question, can freedom and order coexist in humanity? Can there be a society, can the Israelites create a new nation that is both free and just at the same time? Now, earlier in Torah, we've seen examples of the dilemma. There can be freedom and chaos. Before the flood from which Noah's family restarted the world, there was violence and mayhem. That was so dysfunctional that God wiped the slate clean and started over. There can be order without freedom. That's what we had in Egypt, from which the Israelites were liberated. Thus far in Torah, there's not a good example of a society in which freedom and order coexist. The answer to establishing the balance we learn through Torah has to do with language. Early in Genesis, we read repeatedly, "And God said, let there be something, and there was something." God created the world through language. In fact, one of the first gifts that God gave humanity was language. We read in Torah, "God formed man from the dust of the land and breathed the breath of life into his nostrils, and the man became a living being." In the Targum, which is a different translation of the Torah, translates this as, man became a speaking being. In Judaism, the essence of life and of speaking are inseparable. Judaism places a particular emphasis on one aspect of language. The philosopher J.L. Austin called it the performative utterance. This occurs when we use language not to describe something, but to do something. A key example of a performative utterance is a promise or a vow. If I promise to do something, I create what was not there before. I create an obligation. This act of creation by an individual exemplifies a central concept in Judaism. A mutual promise, one in which person A pledges to do something and person B commits to do something in exchange, is called a covenant. And we are the people who based an entire society upon the principles of covenants among individuals and between individuals and God. That's the ultimate example of a performative utterance. Two famous philosophers understood the importance of promises and vows in leading a moral life. Nietzsche said, "To breed an animal with the prerogative to promise, is that not the task which nature has set for herself with regard to humankind? Mankind will really have to become reliable and regular in his own self-image so that he becomes answerable to his own future. As someone is who makes a promise, this is precisely what constitutes the long history of the origin of responsibility." Hannah Arendt, a German-born American historian and political philosopher, also wrote of the interdependence of promise and responsibility. Humanity is filled with unpredictability. This occurs because we are free. We don't really know exactly how people will behave or how they'll respond to our actions. Therefore, we can never be completely sure of the consequences of our decisions. In the case of humanity, freedom seems to pull against order. We know how an inanimate object will act under certain conditions, and we can be fairly certain how an animal will behave, but we can never be completely certain how a human will react. With that in mind, how can we create an orderly society without restricting people's freedom? The answer, says Rabbi Sachs, is the act of promising, of taking a vow. When I vow to do something, I freely accept an obligation to do something in the future. Assuming I keep my word, I have removed one element of unpredictability from the human world. I'm reliable because I have taken a vow to keep my word. According to Hannah Arendt, the human ability to voluntarily commit ourselves to do or refrain from doing something generates order in the relation between human beings without requiring coercive force. As the Israelites prepare to enter the Promised Land, early in Parsha Matot, we read, "When a man makes a vow to Adonai or takes an oath, binding himself to an obligation, he must not break his word. Whatever he speaks, he must fulfill." At the onset of a new nation, a new society, we learn that the institution of promising vows and oaths is essential to the development of a free society. Freedom depends on people keeping their word. We see an example of how a free society depends on the reliability of one's word later in the Parsha. The two tribes of Reuven and Gad look across from the Jordan River and decide that they would rather not cross over the river, but that they could raise their livestock better on the nearer eastern bank of the Jordan. Moses spends 10 verses, which is a long time in Torah parlance, berating them for shirking their responsibility to the other tribes and accusing them of contributing to the potential demise of the entire nation. Scholars feel Moses misunderstood their intent, or perhaps they changed their intent as time went on, but the tribes of Reuven and Gad gave their word to assist in conquering the Midianites and claiming the land promised to them, and then returning to the eastern bank after being team players. In essence, they make promises about helping acquire the promised land, and it's all about keeping one's word, a vow. In society, if trust breaks down, social relationships break down. Society must then depend on law enforcement agencies or some other use of force. When force is widely used, that society is no longer free. The only way free human beings can form cooperative relationships without recourse to force is by verbal vows and to keep their word. Freedom needs trust, and trust needs people to keep their word. As such, words must be treated as holy, and vows and oaths must be sacrosanct. For this reason, as the Israelites approached the Holy Land, in which they were going to create a free society, they had to be reminded of the sacred nature of vows and oaths. There's an undeniable temptation to break one's oath when it's to your advantage to do so. The rabbinic sages tell us this is why it's important to believe in God, a God who oversees all that we think, say, and do, and who holds us accountable to our commitments. Before we enter the Promised Land in Parsha Matot, we learn that there's a chain of contingencies. A free society depends on trust. Trust depends on keeping your word and honoring your vows and oaths. And in this process, humans act in the image of God. We use language to create moral obligations, and thereby we create a free society. Torah admonishes us to do what we are saying we're going to do. If we fail to keep our word, eventually we'll lose our freedom. On the other hand, freedom and order can coexist in humanity if our vows and oaths are reliable and honorable. Torah teaches us that our individual actions hold the keys to the integrity of our collective society. In order to maintain a just and desirable society, it's up to us to follow that teaching. Ken Yehi Ratzon. The rabbis of the 14th century added the Aleinu to the closing of each worship service to end the service on a hopeful note. No matter what our days are like now, our best days still lie ahead. The Aleinu is on page 586 and 591. Please rise if you're able.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'teit gedula le'otzeh breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo
page 591. Before we pray Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, we join together, reading from page 592, reading number 3 at the bottom of the page. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows. It is radiant with warmth and beauty, but soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen, the flames dance and our life burns down in gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. This week we remember those whose yortzites occurred in the past, coinciding with this week: Evelyn Beckerman, Dean Baer, Rita Birnbaum, Ruchil Birnbaum, Dorothy Fogel, Ronald Freed, Al Grossman, Edie Hamovitz, Catherine King, Eloise Pepper, Marcia Lynn Yates Roberts, Florence Samazin, Melvin Sains, Frank Shaffron, Radine Shaw, Linda Sobel, Lanny Solomon, Gabe Spector, Marion Stack, and Lillian Willis. If you are here to say Kaddish for someone whose name I did not read, please let us know their names so we may include them in our prayers. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing. Kaddish Yatom is on page 598. We stand as a community to support those in mourning. If it is your custom to remain seated, please feel free to do so. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agalal v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbach l'olam u'me'almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudesha b'richu. Le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav,
hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru I would like to, on behalf of all of us, I'd like to thank Leslie Zucker, Susie Adams on piano, Howard Pittler on rhythm section, and Warren Sickle on our wind section. I'd also like to thank Peter Pizer, who greeted you at the door. And I would like to let you know some other announcements.
Oh, buckle up. We got a lot going on. Go ahead.
Okay, our next summer schedule weekend is upon us imminently. The campus is closed Saturday and Sunday of this weekend for summer break, so be sure and rest up during your time off for the next weekend.
Because we have a lot going on. Our next Shabbat service will be next Friday, July 21st, which is also our next Beit Midrash, walking Memorial Lanes in Berlin. After services, we will enjoy a Shabbat dinner together and hear more about what Rabbi Katapan learned while on sabbatical in Germany. You can RSVP for dinner in all the usual places.
And next Saturday, we will encourage you to attend Saturday morning services to support and congratulate our next bar mitzvah, Nathan Weiner, at 10:30 in the morning.
And then on Sunday, come back to CBT for the Israel Forum. We are very lucky to have Rabbi Katapan and Rabbi Scott White leading us in a discussion about modern-day Israeli politics, where we are and how we got here. That event will be 4:30 p.m. in the sanctuary.
But before any of that, our next Summer Fun with CBT event is Wednesday of this coming week, I presume.
Yes.
Join Morgan Fassbinder for our summer skate party at Skate City.
And finally, not my favorite announcement, but due to just the way things are in the world right now, we want to make you aware of an upcoming event the first weekend of August. The women of Beth Torah are presenting an active shooter training open to the entire Beth Torah community. Lunch will be served after the training. Now, because of the way the training works and meals, we have to cap it at 50. So if you are interested in attending, please RSVP ASAP, and that link is here, and then it's on the slide deck, and it'll be all the regular places.
So, as you can see, there is so much more going on. We encourage you to participate in your CBT community activities. We are the community that you need. Oh, please. Oh, and then please. I guess this was mine. I didn't realize it was mine.
Sorry.
Please join us in the Ulam after after we do our closing song for Kiddush and Oneg. Our closing song will be Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, which translates as, peace will surely come to us, to everyone, peace for us and the entire world. The words are on the screen. Please rise if you can and join us.
Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Ve'akulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Ve'akulam. Salam Aleinu ve'akulam. Salam, salam. Salam Aleinu ve'akulam. Salam, salam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'akulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'akulam. Salam Aleinu ve'akulam. Salam, salam. Salam Aleinu ve'akulam. Salam, salam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Ve'akulam.
Shabbat Shalom.
Take care of each other out there. And we'll meet you all right out there for Kiddush and Motzi at the table on the other side of the